What up, guys? Dreadshells here, and welcome back to World of Tanks. I'm actually releasing a video that I totally was not expecting to. I was sitting down, I had been working on the Prokhorovka scouting guide video, at least the first one, and I was taking a break, and so I wanted to play a game or two, so I jumped into World of Tanks, and I got this battle, the very first game, a Tier 8 game on Malinovka encounter in my LTTB. And during the course of the events of this game, basically all the relevant positions for scouting the Malinovka encounter occurred. So I was like, this game was just awesome and I just have to use it. So I'm going to be doing a Malinovka encounter scout guide today from the North Spawn. I know it was unexpected, and I said that I'd be working on the Prokhorovka map guide next, but this game was just too good, and I wanted to do this video while this game was still fresh in my mind. So first off, we have some really good matchmaking, a tier 8 game, so effectively top tier. And funny enough, you'll see that there's only 3 tier 8s per side, and oddly there is a tier 8 scout on each side. There's a WZ-132 on our team and a T-54 lightweight on the enemy team, excuse me. So can you say God matchmaking? I don't think that you can get any more top tier than that, other than maybe being the only tier 8 on each side. So anyway, from the north spawn, the initial scouting is a little bit different from the east spawn on Malinovka encounter. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here, and we'll just dive in right into the game. Now, initially you want to take your kind of initial approach into the small village area here pretty high, because you want to catch some of the fast tanks that are going up to the hill. And I'm going to pause the game right here. You will basically be doing, early in the game, constant roll scouting around this ridge, basically just like this. You'll be doing loops and to be constantly be moving and roll scouting over this ridge line right here, so you can spot enemy tanks initially as the game starts, as they cross out of their east spawn up the zero line and up onto the top of the hill. And you always want to be careful in your consecutive roll scouts how high you're cresting this ridge line, because once you've been spotted a couple times, enemy tanks will like to sit here where this T-37 is, and this rock here to try and counter you. Also, a stealthy tank might sit here in what is that, Echo 8, along this tree and bush cluster right here. They like to sit here, and if you crest too high, they can shoot you as well. It's really important, as I said before, to be constantly moving in this position. A lot of people make the mistake of trying to peek and poke in this area, like for instance using some of those trees there on the ridge line or that bush, and there's just not enough cover to use to peek and poke, and you'll get shot from the zero line. Now, it took me for a little bit to notice that this LTTB had moved up under the hill on the A line as far as our guys' approach is concerned, and now we have to play pretty conservative here until he dies, because we can't be aggressively roll scouting the area we were before, because we're constantly lit, and the enemy tanks will be able to pre-aim on our pop-up location as we go crest over the ridge. So right now I'm just staying really flat, and Artie takes a shot at me, and luckily I was able to dodge it just from my constant movement and looping here. And because of me permanently lighting that LTTB there in A8, one of our tank destroyers in the back was able to kill him. And now I'm just going back to business as normal. I'm just constantly looping around this ridge here. I'm cresting extra high here I'll explain why I did that. The enemy team have already made their initial push all the way up to the top of the hill where the windmill is and the rocks on the lower side of the hill. And so now the aggressive tanks have already taken their position, as it is not too far a distance to drive from their spawns. So now my intent now is to, I'm not as exposed to initial fire here. I would be spotting anything that would be sitting here unless it has really good camo rating. One of the tank destroyers could be sitting here with a cabinet perhaps, but the majority of the people that went up to the hill are focused and occupied with my team right here. So I know that the amount of guns that might be looking at me compared to the very beginning of the game is a lot less now. So I need to be mindful of this KV4 and watch where he's aiming as I'm roll scouting. But I roll scouted really high right here to spot this F7 perch right here, which is a common spot most people know about from the south spawn on the standard mode. People like to use to snipe into the opposing perch in C5 behind me right here. And so I want to try and keep this lit and force these players to stay wise. And that way my tank destroyers and snipers back here that are shooting up into the hill won't have as much vision pressure and side direct fire pressure on them. So I'm going to try and keep this spot lit as best I can as well. And I'm watching there on the mini-map, we have our 3 mediums that pushed all the way around the 1-2 lines. Quite honestly, not a very good move on their part, but I guess they were thinking that they didn't want to brawl with tier 8 heavies on the top of the hill, so to each their own. And I stop here. I'm protected. I'm going to pause the game here. I'm protected by this ridge line from direct fire and from being spotted, both from this location unless the KV4 advances a little bit, and I'm protected from being spotted from the F7 area because of this large dome right here, this little mound. So the only danger I need to keep in mind of is if getting spotted from the top of the hill. And as you can see here, the heavies on the hill actually do have a direct line of sight from the windmill area to my firing location here. But I'm betting on the fact that I have good enough camo rating, and if somehow they do manage to spot me, I can just loop back around and stay mobile again and retreat all the way back here if I have to. But because our top tiers did not go to the hill, the enemy has won the hill by default here. We've only we do have 3 tier 7 heavies here, but they're just getting out HP'd, and just because of their poor deployment, I know that they're going to lose. They've already lost the hill, they've retreated, and a couple of tanks have died already, so the enemy team have won the hill already. So my job now is to not try and re-win the hill, but to expedite this situation over here with this T-54 lightweight and SU-122-44. And interestingly enough, if you look at the minimap draw circle area, this is a really good example of what the changes to the draw range have done to the engagement lanes. Previously, before, I don't think this position you were able to fire into this area. Possibly. The draw range used to be a 500 by 500 meter square. But regardless, I'm trying to help our 3 mediums down here in J3 and in K3 kill the SU-122 and 44 and T-54 lightweight as soon as possible, because we're on a timer here on the hill, right? These guys will eventually start pushing down this way and start eventually killing off this team. So this is a retreat and a situation of attrition. So I need to push the tempo of the game by helping kill these guys. And unfortunately, the 54 lightweight there is behind a building, so I don't wait for shots. I'll just keep an eye on him on the minimap, and if he reverses behind the hill, then maybe I'll take shots at him. I take another high roll scout there to see if I can respot the T-71, but he's moved. And I actually didn't get respotted there, so I'm going to pause the game here again. This is a really good example of how you can spot without spotting enemy tanks, knowing where they aren't more specifically. This just does not apply to this location, and it applies to a lot of locations on a wide variety of maps. When you're scouting an area and you know that you don't have soft cover, and when you don't get spotted, when you do it, then you know where the enemy tanks aren't, right? And so I know that there's no enemy tanks right here in this tree and bush cluster in Echo 8, and I know that there's no tanks, at least on top of the perch here in F7. So basically that's something you need to keep in mind always when you're trying to scout. It isn't always about spotting enemy tanks. That's your primary role, of course, but you can figure out where the enemy team is and the players are by just eliminating positions, because knowing that you weren't spotted, you know that they're not there, so they have to be somewhere else. So as I was talking about before, it was only a matter of time before the enemy team won the top of the hill and began advancing off it down the A line. This is actually a very big misplay that they're doing here, although they could still win this technically if they just bull rushed all of them. But this being a pub match, you rarely see that kind of level of coordination between players. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just sitting here in this higher position here in C5. I'm going to pause the game here. There's several bushes that you can use when you're in the defensive location like this. If I was the only one here and the rest of my team, say, were south or deployed somewhere else, and the enemy team were running off down the hill with no resistance, I probably would not stay here. I would go here initially just to see if some of the tanks decide to turn around and come back this way, but I would probably run away right away. But because we have so much support here for now, we have the Wheezy 132, AT7, IS, another Tier 7 medium back here, and the Tiger, and Artie. So we actually have quite a bit of sniper support right here. So as long as these guys are alive and have shots, I want to be able to help give vision to them. So I'm going to stay here, and it's very difficult for the Tiger and the T-34-100 to spot through these trees just from the position that they are in. They're a little bit too far back. So and the AT7 and the IS can spot for themselves, but they can't do it without direct risk of getting shot back just because they're so close. So the best way I can help my teammates right now is just staying passive right here and spotting these guys for my team. And these guys are slowly taking damage a little bit by little bit here. We are bleeding some tanks, but we are actually trading above our weight because of the good vision that me and the Wheezy 132 is giving, probably beside me as well. Tier 7s fighting Tier 8s and other Tier 7s. That's always a really good thing. So I might have left a little early, to be honest, but I took a quick look at after we had killed a couple of their tanks that were advancing off the hill, and I took a quick look and I saw, well, they have two really low health tanks, and there's only 3 of them now, and we have the same sniper line as before, and the WZ-132 can basically give the same spots that I was giving, so my position was kind of redundant. And so basically my decision to leave and move along this area here was more to the fact of they have it taken care of here, right? They have a good deployment, they don't need me, and I would be much more effective in trying to spot out the rest of the 890 lines from the E to the F and G lines, so kind of where this KV-4 is going. So that is where I'm headed, and once again, I'm trying to push the tempo of the game here. Our mediums finally killed out that T-54 lightweight and tank destroyer back there, and now they've they posted up and they stopped advancing here because they are taking too much sniper fire from the zero line. And so they don't have good vision, right? And they're trading badly. They're losing a lot of HP. My T-20 is on a one-shot right now. So I really need to help my mediums in the south by coming up over here and popping this ridge line and starting to spot the snipers on the zero line here so that my mediums can see what's actually shooting back at them. I have some APCR loaded here. You could justifiably call it unnecessary, but more than once I've been trolled by the side of KV-4 tracks and spaced armor, so I just don't want to deal with that. And I take a huge hit from the Stir Meal there. So that was actually a pretty bad misplay on my part. He was actually deployed really well. He has a line of concealment here that he was using for camera rating, which is why I did not see him initially when I popped up here. If I would have seen someone immediately along this ridge line here, basically from the east spawn down a little bit is where they like to snipe, I would have dropped back immediately, but I didn't get spotted, or excuse me, nobody shot at me. And when I popped up here to start shooting at the KV-4, my sixth sense went off, and I assumed that it was just the KV-4 that could see me. So a little bit of a misplay there, and I traded some really badly as far as HP-wise is concerned. But the KV-4 dies, and now these tank destroyers here up on the zero line are blind, right? They can't see the T-20 and the M46 Patton anymore because the KV-4 is dead and he isn't spotting them for the enemy tank destroyers. So now I'm pretty free to move along this water line and try to pop up in different locations and spot these tank destroyers. And my plan hasn't changed, right? Even though I lost all of that HP, I need to be a lot more careful on how I do it, but my plan is still the same, right? I need to help give spots for the T-20 and the Patton and the T-71 behind me even. And our awesome camo rating plus probably a really bad crew on the T-25-2 keeps us from getting spotted even though we're only about probably 300 meters away. Alright, so we spotted the T-25-2 sitting on the rock here, and we got him shot up. He's about half health now. And now I was initially thinking about getting really aggressive and just going constantly passive into this position here. But because I flexed over here, I can actually see the back side of the hill retreat onto the zero line. I can see C0 and I can see D0. And the IS-3 that was initially on the top of the hill here and was advancing off the A line and shooting into our snipers has given up his attack, and he's going back to try to counter our backside attack from our T-20, M46, and myself. So this is a really good example of what your really good view range and camera rating in a scout can get you out of bad situations before they happen. I see the IS-3 coming off the hill and I know what he's going to do, right? So I can plan ahead and relocate so I'm in a better position. So I'm going to go back over to where my initial pop-up spot was right here. I was actually, now I'm remembering, I'm commenting on this on hindsight. I was thinking about going all the way back to C5, but the IS-3 advanced completely past where the Stur Emil was. And the T-25-2 has died, so now that means that there's only one tank there. I spot the Stur Emil as I'm crossing here. When you're spotted out in the open like this, you always need to be keeping in mind where are the enemy tanks. So the T-29 was a one-shot, and he was last spotted on the hill. So, and judging from where the WZ-132 is, the T-29 is actually more back here probably. So I'm actually in danger of getting shot here up from the hill. And also because the Sturmil spotted me, and the IS-3 I think just killed our T-20. The IS-3 could potentially have shots on me as well. So I need to minimize the angles of fire on me as much as possible. I'm kind of in a bad situation right now. But you need to make the best of the situation. So the best thing I can do here is reduce the amount of guns that can shoot me. So I'm going to keep this hill in between me and the Sturmil and the IS-3. And hopefully my mobility will save me from getting shot from the T-29 is the plan. And we dodged just in time there, the T-29. And the WZ comes up from behind him and takes him out. And the raging Sturmil there, who shot me earlier, I was able to get killed through my vision and my roll scouting here. And now it's just cleanup. Pausing the game here again. Once again, I'm in a situation where I have enemies on multiple sides of me. The Arty is the one who spotted me, so now the IS-3 has just killed the M46 Patton, so I know that I have a little bit of time before he reloads, but I need to get into cover from him because the Arty has me spotted. So once again, choose which one you want to stay in cover from, and since the Arty is most likely engaged from the WZ-132, he'll probably be looking at him, so the main threat that I need to stay away from is this IS-3. So I reverse and drive back up north and get this ridge line in between me and the IS-3, so he doesn't have any shots on me. And I was thinking about going up to help the WZ-132 here, kill the Arty just in case the Arty one-shots him. But it looked like the WZ had that situation covered pretty well. And now, once again, we're back into a vision roll here. And this is a really good example of, you can do this not just in games like this where in this particular situation it's just cleanup, but also when games are 50-50 or you're slightly behind. This situation also applies as well. Once you've cleared out the zero line and for instance on standard mode, and you have a whole bunch of defensive positions here all the way from the 8 line to the 3 line, the 0 line is awesome for spotting into particularly the 7 line and this H6 H5 house here right on the south base. Also, it's really good for spotting enemy snipers that have taken up defensive locations here along the windmill and the house set here in K6 and K7 as well. And you can either active roll scout, but quite honestly, there's a ton of bushes and trees here that you can use, so you can go passive as well, and it would just work just as well. So right now I'm looking at the mini-map and see that the IS-3 was last spotted in the pond depression, so I'm assuming that he took a hold-down position there, but actually he's getting really aggressive and he's countering the T-71. Our T-71 is capping and he's just gonna drive out straight at him to try and get a reset in. And now I'm just actually driving straight in to try and get a shot or two in here because it looks like he's gonna die pretty quick. And fortunately and unfortunately, our team killed him. So I wasn't able to get any more damage, but the IS-3 dies really quickly due to the multiple vision. I wasn't the only one spotting him. The T-34 100 I'm sure was spotting him, and the T-71 was also probably spotting him. So this is a really good example of how to scout Malinovka encounter from the north spawn. Initially, you want to be really aggressive here in C7 and get spots on them as they advance from their east spawn up to the top of the hill. And also, depending on what happens on the top of the hill will determine your next move as a scout. Either you'll stay conservative and defensive if your team loses the hill, and you'll stay here as long as you can in C5 and spot the attackers as they advance off the hill before they force you to retreat. Or if your team has won the hill, actually what you can do is you can jump up onto the top of the hill, which unfortunately we weren't able to see how to use these positions in this particular game. But like in B9, and there's actually a bush in the very top right hand corner of B0 that you can also use, and you can use these bushes on top of the hill to spot, for instance, E8 and E9 and E0, and you will able to get these tanks shot really well from some of your teammates behind you on the hill, for example, and also from teammates in C5, and from there you can progress like the rest of the battle showed. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this impromptu scouting guide. Once again, as I said at the start, I wasn't planning on making this scouting guide today. I was working on the Prokhorovka 1-2 line north spawn guide, which I hopefully will get done tomorrow or the next day. I won't make any promises on the time frame though. But yeah, this game just happened, and it all the right angles and engagements happened, and it was just too good for me not to use. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this game and learned more about how to scout this map on Encounter. I will be also linking in the video description a photo album of scouting and vision charts that I put together, so you guys can use them as a reference for later, and you can come back to them and see the actual specific positions that I was talking about, and you guys can use that for your future games. Thank you so much for watching, and good hunting.